Welcome back to The Explainer. Let's just be honest for a second. If you've ever sat in a totally silent classroom, nervously tapping your pencil on a desk, staring down this massive stack of test papers, you've probably wondered to yourself, who actually designed this stressful experience? And, well, why do we do it this way? Today, we're going to peel back the layers. We're looking directly behind the curtain at how educational progress is actually measured, structured, and honestly, modernized. We are going to transform what usually feels like this intimidating, mysterious ordeal into a crystal clear logical framework. Because once you understand the actual architecture behind how you're being tested, it completely changes how you approach your own learning. So here's our syllabus for the next 10 minutes. We're covering the blueprint of evaluation, the timeline of testing, choice-based credit systems, computer-based testing, and finally, innovative assessment methods. Okay, let's dive into this.
Section 1. The Blueprint of Evaluation.
I really want to start by shifting our mindset completely. You see, it is so easy to view testing as just this stressful end-of-the-year grade, right? Just an arbitrary hurdle you've got to jump over. But if we look at the source material, evaluation is actually a comprehensive, deeply integrated, multi-layered system. It's literally baked right into the DNA of learning. To really get this, we look at Tyler's model. This breaks the educational process down into three fundamental elements. Think of it like an architectural blueprint. Step 1 is establishing the objectives, like what exactly are we trying to achieve here? Step 2 is the learning experiences. This is the actual instruction designed to hit those goals. And finally, step 3 is the evaluation techniques. Let's make this super concrete. Say your objective in step 1 is to learn how to bake a chocolate cake. Step 2, the learning experience, is you in the kitchen mixing batter, figuring out the oven. Step 3, the evaluation, is simply tasting the cake. Now, if the teacher decides to evaluate you by asking you to ride a bicycle, well, the whole system just breaks down, right? Evaluation is just the final step of a deliberate three-part design process. It exists simply to measure if step 2 successfully achieved step 1. So it's not some isolated event, it's the anchor for the whole shebang. Section 2, the timeline of testing. So, knowing that evaluation is so deeply tied to our learning experiences, let's look at how this plays out in real time. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a hypothetical student starting a brand new class. Your evaluation journey doesn't just happen at the end. It actually maps to a very specific chronological timeline. Even before instruction begins, we have placement evaluation. Think of a language proficiency exam before college. The system has to figure out, do you belong in Spanish 101 or 201? We have to find the starting line. Then, during instruction, we have formative evaluation. This is ongoing. It's totally feedback-oriented to help you improve as you go. Now, if there's a hurdle, maybe a severe roadblock, we trigger diagnostic evaluation, which is specifically designed to isolate and identify exact learning gaps. Finally, after instruction is completely wrapped up, we arrive at summative evaluation. The course is over, and it's time for grading and certification. To really cement this in your mind, think of formative and diagnostic evaluations kind of like the GPS in your car. When you take a wrong turn, your GPS doesn't yell at you or give you an F. It just identifies the gap between where you are and where you want to be, and then it recalculates your route. In a classroom, a teacher using formative evaluation might notice a bunch of confused faces during a lecture. They read the room, realize the concept just isn't landing, and instantly pivot their lesson plan. It's all about feedback. Summative evaluation, on the other hand, that is the checkered flag at the end of the race. The driving is completely over, there's no more route to recalculate, it is just time to record your final time, lock in the grade, and hand out the certification. Both concepts are absolutely crucial to a functional education system, but they serve entirely different purposes on the timeline of your learning.
Section 3. Choice-based credit systems.
All right, now that we've mapped out the timeline of a single course, let's zoom out a bit. How do we measure progress across an entire four-year degree program? We're shifting our narrative from individual tests to the broader, modern structure of academic programs. You have probably seen this acronym before, CBCS, or the Choice-Based Credit System. To really grasp why this is such a big deal, you have to realize what it actually replaced. Historically, education was incredibly rigid. It was linear. Everyone took the exact same classes in the exact same order. It was very, very teacher-centric. CBCS completely revolutionized this by shifting the focus directly to student-centric learning. It essentially created this sort of academic currency system. It provides a standardized way to measure and accumulate your learning experiences over time, which allows for a wildly multidisciplinary approach to education that literally just wasn't possible in the past.
Let's look at how this academic currency actually functions in practice. Imagine a student who wants to major in computer science, but they're also just incredibly passionate about art history. In the old system, this combo would be an absolute scheduling nightmare. But CBCS breaks learning down into manageable blocks called semesters. And every course in a semester is assigned a weight, or credits. This introduces the absolute best feature of the system: immense flexibility. Our student can use the required credits to buy their core programming classes, but then they can use their elective credits to take Renaissance art. They're not locked into a single track anymore. Finally, the system uses basic GPA calculations to standardize performance. So an A in advanced algorithms and an A in art history both contribute to a single mathematically sound grade point average. It is an evaluation system designed specifically for the modern, dynamic, multi-passionate learner.
Section 4, computer-based testing. We've got the foundational blueprint, we've got the timeline, and we have the overarching credit structure. Now let's speed things up a bit, because the actual technology of how we sit down and take these tests is undergoing a massive, exciting evolution. Enter CBT, or computer-based testing. Now, it is so crucial to understand that CBT isn't just about typing your answers on a keyboard instead of bubbling in a Scantron sheet with a number 2 pencil. This is a fundamental paradigm shift. A static paper test treats every single student exactly the same. It's just a dumb document. Technology is completely changing the game here, transforming tests from static pages into smart, dynamic, responsive experiences that actually react to the human taking them. Let's dig a bit deeper into these high-tech upgrades straight from the source material, because honestly, they are fascinating. First up, we have adaptive testing. If you've taken a major standardized test recently, like the GRE or GMAT, you have definitely experienced this. The computer algorithm actually adjusts the difficulty of the questions in real time. If you get a question right, boom, the next one's harder. Get it wrong, the next one's a bit easier. This lets the system pinpoint your exact skill level incredibly fast, creating a highly personalized evaluation. And this magic is powered by item banks. These are massive digital repositories filled with thousands of validated questions. Because the system can just randomly pull from these giant banks, 2 students sitting right next to each other will get completely different tests. It virtually eliminates traditional cheating. And of course, we can't forget automated scoring. No more waiting 3 agonizing weeks for a teacher to grade a massive stack of essays. You get instant, actionable feedback. It's just incredibly efficient.
Section 5, innovative assessment methods.
But, technology isn't the only thing evolving here. The very nature of what an assignment even looks like is changing. As we move into our final section, it's pretty clear that the future of testing goes way, way beyond your standard multiple-choice questions. There is a massive conceptual shift happening right now in education, and this brilliantly illustrates it. Traditional testing leans heavily on summative evaluations. Remember that checkered flag we talked about earlier? That old mindset often encourages a culture of cramming. You just memorize a bunch of facts the night before, take the test, and then, let's be real, you forget everything a week later. Innovative methods are actively fighting against that. These modern approaches blur the lines between learning and testing, transforming evaluation into an ongoing, continuous demonstration of actual, real-world capability. The source material highlights a few specific, modern tools driving this shift. Take peer assessment, for example. Having students evaluate each other isn't just a sneaky way to save the teacher some time. Actually, evaluating someone else's work forces you to deeply understand the grading criteria yourself, which cements your own knowledge. Then we have rubric-based evaluation. A crystal-clear rubric provides total transparency, removing subjective teacher bias and showing the student exactly what success looks like before they even lift a finger. Portfolios are also becoming incredibly popular, mostly because they showcase a curated, evolving body of work over time, rather than just a snapshot of a single stressful Tuesday morning. And then there are open book exams. When we were younger, we all thought an open book exam meant a guaranteed easy A. But the reality is, it's an incredibly rigorous modern method. In the real world, you always have access to Google, right? Open book exams are actually designed to test how well you can apply, synthesize, and analyze information rather than just purely memorizing it. Which really brings us to the ultimate question. We've been on quite a journey today, moving from Tyler's foundational 3-step blueprint, mapping out the timeline of a learner, zooming out to the academic currency of credit systems, and finally landing in this hyper-modern world of computer-adaptive, open-book evaluations. The whole system has entirely transformed. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. As the rigid, high-stress memorization tests of the past slowly disappear, if every single test eventually becomes an open book, adaptive experience, what are we really measuring?
Are we still measuring raw knowledge, or are we now fundamentally measuring our ability to navigate, synthesize, and adapt to the world around us? Just something to think about the next time you sit down for an evaluation. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.